See the one on the left hand side of the square bracket also is the administrative distance for EIGRP. So what we need to do is to increase the administrative distance of static route to be higher than this 90. So EIGRP is using 90 and I want it to be added to the routing table. So to do that, you have to increase that of a static route to be above this 90. Hi beautiful people out there, it's another beautiful day. Let's quickly look at a very short topic called floating static route. I would have configured it when I did a static route, but I forgot that, but thank God I've now left the routing protocol. So let me just configure this short configuration on floating static route to round up the routing topics. Okay, then we're going to move on to another topic in the next section of the video. So before we go into the floating static route, I will first of all tell you what floating static route is all about, and so that you know what you are configuring. Alright, so floating static route is a route you configure in which you modify the default administrative distance of the static route. So what is the purpose of doing this? You increase the administrative distance of the static route of which is the default is 1, which is the lowest among all the routing protocols, including all the dynamic routing protocols. So the rules say that the lowest administrative distance value will be added to the routing table. So therefore, if you configure a normal static route without increasing the administrative distance, it will be added to the routing table, and then every dynamic route linked to the same destination will be ignored. And in a realistic manner, the dynamic routing should be added to the routing table, because route learned via dynamic routing protocols is better, because dynamic routing protocol don't just create a route, it also monitor the route and then make necessary changes whenever needed. So such as monitoring the route when some neighbors go down and remove it from the routing table so that packet will not be sent to a wrong port that is not active. So dynamic routes should be preferred over a static route. So that is the purpose of making these changes to the administrative distance of a static route. So when you configure a route, a normal static route to this 4040 network, and then you learn the route to this 4040 network via EIGRP, then the normal static route will be added to the routing table. So I will show you that. Then after I make the adjustment to the administrative distance of this normal static route and it become a floating static route, then the EIGRP route will not take precedence. That is, will now be added to the routing table over the static route. Okay, so the purpose of this static route now, the floating static route now, it will not be acting as a backup route. So whenever the EIGRP route go down, the static route will not be added to the routing table, then the manually configured route will be acting as a backup. Okay, so first of all, let me show you the route. First of all, I've already configured EIGRP on this router. So before I create the floating static route, I will first of all show you the routing table. Then after I create the normal static route, I will show you the routing table again to show that normal static route will take over the EIGRP route. Then finally, I will now configure the floating static route. Okay, so floating static route is very simple. So you just add just one command to the normal static route. So first of all, let's show the routing table with show IP route. So my target is this 4040 network. So you can see I learned a route to this network already via EIGRP, D for EIGRP. Okay, so we have two routes learned to it already through 3030 and then through 2020. Okay, so if I configure a static route to this same network, you will see that this route learned through EIGRP will be wiped out of this routing table. So let me do that immediately with conft. So just know that I just want to configure a normal static route first, okay, just to prove the point that it will take over the EIGRP route. Okay, so IP route, the destination is 40.40.40.0, and then the mask of this destination is 255.255.255.0. Then the next hop is, let me use this router tree address 30.30.30.2. okay, next hop is 30.30.30.2, sorry, 2, and show IP route. Okay, as you can see, the EIGRP route is no longer there, so the static route have taken over the routing table. Okay, so if I want the EIGRP route to take over, why the static route is still saved in this router, that is when I need to create a floating static route. Okay, save it, right? All right, so let me also show run to make sure that you are still seeing the AIGRP configuration. Okay, so you can see AIGRP configuration to the various network, then see the static router configured that take over the president. Okay, so I want to configure a static route now, a floating static route now. So what do we need to do? Let me show you the IP route again. What do we need to do when configuring a floating static route? Take note of this value in the square bracket. Then this value in the square bracket. The value on the left hand side is the administrative distance. So the administrative distance for this static route, you can see, is 1. So the value for AIGRP, see the one on the left hand side of the square bracket also is the administrative distance for AIGRP. So what we need to do is to increase the administrative distance of static route to be higher than this 90. So AIGRP is using 90 and I want it to be added to the routing table. So to do that, you have to increase that of a static route to be above this 90. So let's go to the configuration mode to do that, to configure the floating static route. So with conf t IP route, so I'm configuring this floating static route now. The process is the same with normal static route, just that you add one command to increase the administrative distance. So it's to the same 4040 network, 40.40.0. Then the subnet mask of this network is 255.255.0. Then this what's it called? The next hop is 30.30.30.2. So this is where you make a change. The next thing is to type the administrative distance value. So I want it to be higher than 90. So let me just type 95. Okay. So hit enter and that is all. You have configured a floating static route like this. So do right to save. Then there's one important thing I noticed. I don't know if it is just packet tracer or that is how it is in every devices. Before this AIGRP route take over again, you have to reload the router. So for example, if I show IP route now, the static route will still be there unless I reload the router. Okay, so you see the static route is still there, but if I reload the router, the AIGRP route will take over. Okay, so reload. The command is reload. So reload, then click enter. Okay, so the router is back up. So let me show the routing table again, if it is still the static route that is there or the AIGRP route. So show IP route. So to the 4040 network, the AIGRP route have taken over the routing table. So the AIGRP route will be used now. So mind you, the static route is still in the floating static route is still in this router. It will act as a backup route. So whenever the AIGRP route goes down, then the floating static route will now be added to the routing table. So let me see, show run. If the command is there. So you can see the floating static route command is still there. So let me prove if it will be added to the routing table. So what I'm going to do is to maybe remove the AIGRP configuration. Then we'll shake the routing table again. So how do I do that? I will go to configuration mode and then no router AIGRP. Let me use tab, then 200. So I'll remove this AIGRP configuration from this router. So let me show the routing table again. Do show IP route. As you can see, the static route have taken over again because there's no route laying via AIGRP anymore. But if the AIGRP route become active, then it will take over this route again. Alright, so that is all for today. So thanks for watching. Thanks for taking your time to watch. So if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like, share and comment. Have a beautiful day.